Welcome back to the Black Hills and Eastern Railroad, everybody. Today we are working on bench work and layout construction a little bit. You've heard me mention before about that 3/4 turn Helix right north of Garretson that leads into hidden staging, and we are going to get risers put underneath that today and get that a little bit closer to being put in service. I've got bench work started where we're going to lay out Garretson, and then the bench work will continue on the main level over to around the corner to Corson and then on to Sioux Falls. I'm not going to do any of that today, but you'll see that coming here in future episodes on the Black Hills and Eastern Railroad. But let's get started with getting that Helix, that 3/4 turn Helix up and running. So here I am at the Jasper spur switch, and I am fixing to put on risers for the 3/4 turn Helix here on the Marshall sub. Going between, of course, Jasper, like I said, that siding switch there in the foreground, around the support tower here, and up into Garretson here on the benchwork. So I've already cut, this is Birch plywood. This is the same plywood that I built the Helix out of. And I am right now building risers for this. So we will space this off of the main benchwork here, open grid, rise it up around the corner over here, as I said, 3/4 turn. With these risers. How I'm building these is I've got here, I will countersink and pre-drill holes for 1-inch drywall screws. I've got star bit drywall screws here. I'll put some wood glue in there just in case in between the cleat and the scrap plywood. And again, this is just scrap plywood that I had. I think this is 1/4 inch-ish. That might be 3/16 or even, well, that's probably 3/16, and just scrap 1x2s here for the cleat. So let's get going. Project is elevation gain. I'm going to use these risers to gain elevation here on our sub-roadbed, and I'm going to fix those with temporarily with clamps until we get the elevation just right, and then we can use small screws to fix the risers to the benchwork underneath. So we're underneath the layout here now, and I have got all of these risers temporarily secured using ratchet clamps, C-clamps, and those spring-loaded clamps as you see over here. And we're about ready to check the grade here. So if you guys have been watching the channel, you've seen this little piece of Marshall sub-track here, just laying flat with the Homosote here. And finally it's got some grade on it, and we're coming up, and we're going to come around here into Garretson, and I haven't got any Homosote on the top here yet, but we'll get it there, and we'll interconnect with this piece right here. So I did cut the benchwork here a couple of places in order to accommodate that main line going down the Helix here. I've got my risers in underneath there, grade situated mostly like I want it here. I've got a straight piece that I inserted in between the curves in order to get my distance out to the back of the backdrop here, and to prevent any problems related to having an S-curve here. So here we are attaching the riser to the bottom side of the benchwork here. And those two screws will hold, and we can remove that temporary clamp. And the neat part about this is if we find that this isn't exactly in alignment, the grade isn't quite right, this is very forgiving and easy to move up and down here. We don't need the clearance down below here, so it's okay that these hang down below the benchwork just a little bit. So I ended up doing 12 risers here. I had to add 2 underneath to support the last little bit of the sub-roadbed coming down the Helix here. And this is what it looks like from underneath. This is what I thought was going to be the last one. And I'm glad to make these a little bit wider than the sub-roadbed itself actually is, because they cross at a diagonal sometimes. And especially, not necessarily this one, that's more of a right angle, but this one for sure here, number 8, there's pretty steep angle that it comes across. So we'll attach that on the top side. So I'm going to show you now how I attach the roadbed to the riser. I'm going to use this countersink and pilot hole bit in order to drill holes, and then that way when we countersink the screw heads, they'll be below the sub-roadbed, so the cork roadbed goes right over the top of them. And then using this riser as an accessory, I also put in a support member for the benchwork here in the foreground, because that was going to sag. I'll probably have to do something for this other corner here as well, but you get the idea of how we're going to support this with heavy material and landscaping and stuff over the top of it. This piece here is a real good example of countersunk screws, so you can see where the cork roadbed is going to pass right over the top of these screw heads without making any kind of elevation change at all. So the plan is to double gap this this track right here at this switch right before the switch points here. This is the Jasper switch. You might remember we come up the Helix here, 3/4 turn around the support member. This support column doesn't do anything but hold up bench work. It's not actually structural underneath in this place where the layout is. We continue up the Helix here. We end up in Garretson, downtown Garretson, on top of the 1x2 benchwork here. This is going to be plywood with homosote over the top of it. This area here, supported by struts here on the front of the benchwork and tied into the stud wall on the other side of the drywall here on the back side. And then we resume the Marshall sub going back down to Sioux City, Iowa, through the wall here. There will be another double gap, and I'll get into that in another episode, right on the other side of the wall here, because there is a reverse loop here when we tie back into the staging area down at Jasper. So I'll get into that in another episode, and that's, I guess, where we're going to leave you guys for this particular episode. Here's where we're going to pull the pin on this particular episode. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content here. Leave us a comment below and subscribe for more, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.